Akitaru is a trash loser who has no girl in his life except for his friend's sister, whose job is to torment him till he gets a life-changing opportunity to work at a big entertainment company for an opportunity to clap the president's daughter. The story starts out with Akitaru returning from school, while talking about the false logic that a crush needs to act negatively towards their target, when it is pretty easy to come out clean with their intentions. Akitaru arrives at his door to hear loud music blaring and rocking his room. He can also hear a girl's voice from inside the room, and he manages to control his anger to avoid bursting open like a balloon. He walks into the room, heads to the power outlet, and pulls out the sound system plug, while complaining about how loud the music is. Lying on his bed is a girl, Iroha, and she gaslights him by telling him that he is supposed to knock before barging into someone else's room. Akitaru is forced to remind her, just in case she is suffering from a rare breed of amnesia, that she is the one trespassing in his room. Akitaru then tells Iroha that she is supposed to keep the music volume down because of the other residents. Basically, Iroha has her headphones with her, but she chose to torment the other tenants by blowing up the speaker. Iroha immediately switches the conversation, asking Akitaru if he wants to have a go with her beautiful melons, since he is quite interested in where her headphones are hanging. Iroha makes her move more tempting by going close to Akitaru, but RMC is able to resist her Delilah attempts, still trying to push Akitaru into a pit. Iroha says Akitaru didn't knock because he was hoping that she would be changing her clothes. She starts calling the police, but Akitaru tells her not to waste her time because he can help her call the police with his phone. Iroha is surprised to see how confident Akitaru is about calling the police, and she reminds him that her words are going to carry more weight in front of the government handcuff-wielding robots. Apparently, Iroha is a troublesome chick who will do everything to torment Akitaru. Akitaru is forced to keep his mouth shut, but Iroha continues by reminding Akitaru that she has his house key with her, which means that he consented to her being in his home for them to have fun. Akitaru tries to defend himself, saying he didn't give her the key just so she can spread her female liquids everywhere, but Iroha argues that this is the case. Iroha even believes that Akitaru will be reeling in her body scent when she leaves, but Akitaru bugs sprays her, saying he would rather not have any of her scent in the room. Iroha berates Akitaru for treating his baby sister like trash, but Akitaru denies that the girl is his sister. Iroha maintains her argument, reminding Akitaru that she is his best friend's sister, which automatically makes her his baby sister. The awkward moment between the two continues until Akitaru gets a call from his uncle, Mori. Akitaru tells her to keep her mouth shut or make herself scarce because he is about to receive an important call. Iroha assures him that he is going to stay silent like a mannequin throughout the duration of the call. Apparently, Mori is the president of an entertainment company called Honey Place Works, and Akitaru recently submitted an application to the company. Akitaru asks his uncle if he is calling because of the application, and he says yes, since he is of high ranking in the company. He assures Akitaru that he can help him out, but he also has something he wants Akitaru to do for him. All while Akitaru is on call with his uncle, Iroha is glued to him like a python, listening to their conversation. Before Mori reveals the first favor he wants, he asks Akitaru a unique question. He wants to know if Akitaru has a girlfriend or not. Iroha hears this and immediately goes into crazy mode, ready to make life difficult for Akitaru. While trying to push her away, her voice slips into the phone, and Mori asks him if someone is with him, but he lies that he just got a cat. Iroha doesn't make the lie easier for Akitaru as she continues tickling him, making him uncomfortable for the rest of the call. In the end, Mori picks a location for them to meet, but he expresses his relief that Akitaru doesn't have a girlfriend. After the call, Iroha acts like she didn't do anything wrong and even tells Akitaru that she needs some thick milk. Akitaru points her in the direction of the fridge instead of unleashing his hot sausage on her. Soon afterward, Akitaru is seen in class, diligently copying his friend's notes. An erase bounces in front of him, and he picks it up before telling the owner about it. Instead of being grateful, the owner is startled that Akitaru helped him out because obviously, Akitaru is a damn loser, and he doesn't want his loser trait to transfer to him. Momentarily, his best friend and Iroha's brother, Azuma, joins Akitaru in class. Azuma thanks Akitaru for helping him out, and he promises to buy him some snacks later. The conversation between the two soon progresses to Azuma telling Akitaru that Iroha most likely has a crush on him. Akitaru debunks this because he doesn't think Iroha would prefer to torment him if she really likes him. Azuma mentions that the way girls think is pretty different from boys. But Akitaru still doesn't think he is a likable person since he is the leader of losers. In addition, Akitaru doesn't see himself taking advice from Azuma, who is a magnet for all good things. Their little conversation is interrupted by the arrival of their strict math teacher, Sumire. Just her presence in the class sends the students to the afterlife and back. Later that day, Akitaru is packing his bags when a classmate comes rushing over to tell him that a cute girl is asking after him. This draws attention to Akitaru, and when he checks out who it is that is asking after him, it turns out to be none other than Iroha. Akitaru walks up to her, asking her what she wants with a very serious tone. Instead of her usual rash and egotistical self, Iroha replies to Akitaru with a calm and cute voice. Iroha then suggests that they go home together, and Akitaru agrees. Akitaru plans to call Azuma along, but Iroha tells him that there is no need for this because she wants them to be alone. Akitaru berates Iroha for acting fake in front of everyone, but this turns out to be a big mistake on his path. Iroha turns things around by asking Akitaru why he is being harsh when they are clearly a couple. This immediately sparks outrage among the students who are spectating. Iroha continues by saying Akitaru even played love games with her, leaving the spectators picking their jaws from the floor. Azuma shows up on the scene, and Iroha continues with her jail sending lies that she and Akitaru are going on a date. Realizing that things are only going to get worse, he drags her out of there. Akitaru drags her to the stairs, where he demands to know what type of game she is playing. Iroha mentions that she has made herself his girlfriend just to torment him because of the phone conversation she heard the day before. Iroha says it like she is doing Akitaru a favor by becoming his girlfriend, since he is a piece of trash. Unlike the regular days, Akitaru is pissed at Iroha for playing games with him, telling her that the call with his uncle is important for his future. Akitaru walks away in anger, but Iroha suddenly grabs him from behind, telling him he has a potato for brains because he can't see the fact that she loves him. She rubs his back while telling him that she wants them to remain close forever. Iroha's confession hits the right spots in Akitaru's mind and soul, leaving him ultimately defenseless. He has no idea what to say to Iroha, but everything immediately goes downhill when Iroha reveals that she was only messing with him. Iroha knows the best way to get to Akitaru, and she exploited it easily. Akitaru is stunned by embarrassment that he doesn't even know what to say. Iroha notices how embarrassed he is because his entire face, up to his ears, has turned red like pepper. When Akitaru finally pulls himself together, he angrily tells Iroha that he is never going to believe a word out of her mouth again. Later on, Akitaru meets Mori at a cafe that he had picked out for them. Akitaru thanks his uncle for meeting him despite his extremely busy schedule. Mori then reveals that there is someone else who will join them soon. Before then, Mori wants them to talk about other things. Mori expresses his shock at the fact that Akitaru has developed his own game, but Akitaru mentions that it was a team effort. Apparently, Akitaru has a team known as the Fifth Alliance, and together, they all worked on the game to bring it to life. The game is basically the talk of the town as it has been able to reach 1 million downloads in a short space of time. Even with the recorded effort, Akitaru thinks it would be much better if they get promoted by his uncle's company. Since they are getting into the main conversation, Akitaru asks him about the conditions he mentioned. Instead of answering immediately, Mori tells Akitaru to look at the order list and get himself something. Momentarily, a waitress shows up to take their order, and Mori wastes no time asking her out. Akitaru cannot believe that his uncle is a creep, and, exhausted from their boring talks, he asks to use the bathroom. He closes his eyes as he enters the restroom, causing him to push the door open without knocking. By the time he opens his eyes, he sees a girl doing her thing on the toilet seat, and the girl ends up screaming like a strained cat out of sheer embarrassment. When Akitaru finally returns to the cafe, the girl is also there, and it turns out that the girl is Mori's cousin, Mashiro. Basically, she is his cousin, and Mori finally decides to reveal his condition to hire Akitaru and his team. Akitaru and Mashiro almost die of shame when Mori reveals that he wants Akitaru to be her boyfriend till she graduates from school. Apparently, Mashiro has never attended any public school before, and Mori is just trying to protect her. Realizing that he can help her cousin out, Akitaru agrees to the deal, and Mashiro reluctantly agrees too. Mashiro has no issues, since the entire thing is fake and she hates Akitaru's guts. Before the end of the meeting, Mori gives Akitaru the cold face to tell him that he is going to be in trouble if he ever makes a move on Mashiro, but Akitaru knows this much. With this, the two conclude their deal, and Mori lets Akitaru know that he is free to come and start work at the company the next day. The next time Akitaru returns to school, he runs into Iroha, who immediately suspects that something is going on with him. Akitaru tries to hide it, telling the girl not to disturb him. He finally gets rid of her when he enters his class, and moments later, Mashiro enters the class to introduce herself as the new student in class. She wastes no time spicing things up by revealing that she and Akitaru are a couple, and this immediately sparks an uproar in class. Akitaru is considered the class trash, and one of them asks her how he met Akitaru. Mashiro stutters before saying they met in the bathroom, ultimately sparking another wave of shock. Mashiro realizes that things are getting awfully weird and immediately ends the introduction phase. But when she gets to her seat, which is conveniently beside Akitaru, she acts the total opposite of what a girlfriend should act like. Akitaru tries telling her to play the part, but she lets it be known that she hates his guts, and she suggests that they keep their stories straight so that no one will see that she is treating him like trash. Just then, Azuma taps Akitaru on the shoulder, asking him why he kept his relationship a secret. Akitaru simply tells him that he is going to explain the details to him later. Just as he promised, Akitaru explains to Azuma how he got to be Iroha's fake boyfriend, and Azuma teases her for being the lucky guy, but Akitaru thinks it's the opposite. Azuma then reminds Akitaru that Iroha loves him, but as usual, Akitaru throws this idea in the trash. Azuma soon stands up to go get food, and the annoying green-haired student shows up to talk about his new love life. In the middle of the conversation, he mentions the little girl, Iroha, that he is always hanging out with. Unlucky for Akitaru, Mashiro walks in to hear the greenhead say that Akitaru hangs out with a little girl. Akitaru tries to salvage the situation by telling the greenhead that Iroha is Azuma's sister, and that there is nothing romantic between them. Akitaru finally manages to get rid of the dude by using his weakness for Sumire against him. After he is gone, Mashiro walks up to Akitaru, telling him to get him some rice balls. Akitaru is surprised to hear this since he never signed up to be Mashiro's slave. Mashiro reminds him that he is her boyfriend and he should at least try to play the part. Akitaru is forced to step out to get her the rice balls that she wants, but as expected, she gets no thanks for what he did. Moments later, the strict teacher, Sumire, enters the class. Just as expected, she roasts a kid so badly that he wishes to be isekai'd. Since it is Mashiro's first time being in Sumire's class, she also has a hard time dealing with a strict woman. Everyone heaves a sigh of relief when she finishes her lecture, but just as she is about to step out of the class, she tells Akitaru to come to her office. Everyone fears for Akitaru, but he assures them that he has nothing to be scared of, since Sumire will obviously not terminate him. He boldly walks into the student counseling office, and, upon entering the weird room, he makes his way to the throne-like chair sitting in the middle of the room. The moment he gets on the chair, Sumire surprisingly rushes over to bow to him, apologizing for her misdeeds. She starts shedding tears while explaining her situation to Akitaru. In a twist of things, it turns out that Sumire is the illustrator, the fifth member of the Fifth Floor Alliance. She submitted one of her projects late, which is why she is begging with her head on the ground. Akitaru scolds her the same way she scolds the students in class, by reminding her of the core principles of being a disciplined person. Sumire begs forgiveness while telling Akitaru that she is only role-playing whenever she comes to class. Akitaru was already letting things go until he asked about the progress of her project, and he found out that she was still stagnant. He almost locks her in one of the pain-inflicting devices sitting in the room, but decides to let her go when she reveals that she was suffering from an artist's block. Akitaru scolds her, saying she should have come to him sooner with her problems. Instead of being remorseful, Sumair says she didn't want to come to her because she was maintaining her aura points. This earns her a painful procedure of Akitaru grabbing her pressure points. At the same time, this helps her relieve all the stress she has been feeling. This causes her to remember the pressure she felt the very first time she met Akitaru. Sumair thinks it is the worst way they could have met, but Akitaru believes it is the most beautiful way. Akitaru then tells her to submit her draft as quickly as she can, but this forces Sumair to call him the cruelest man out there. Akitaru then tells her that she is to blame for bringing it upon herself. The two end up having a back and forth before Akitaru finally decides that it is time for him to leave. Before leaving, Sumair asks Akitaru about his relationship with Mashiro, and he explains that it was the only condition that Mori set for him to land the gig. After hearing this, Sumair appreciates Akitaru's effort in helping the team. Sumair then mentions that there was a problem at Mashiro's former school because she was being bullied. Apparently, her classmates found out a secret, and they started using this against her. Sumair says Mashiro has been through some really bad times, and Sumair urges Akitaru to help her. Akitaru assures Sumair that this is his plan from the onset. When Akitaru finally returns to class, he finds Mashiro packing her things, and he suggests that they head home together, but she stares at him with a very scary face, telling him not to talk to her. Mashiro is forced to run out of the room when she realizes that everyone is staring at them. Azuma walks up to Akitaru, trying to comfort him concerning his troubles with Mashiro. Akitaru is going through a really tough time, but he is determined to find a way to become friends with Mashiro. Later on, Akitaru is in the locker room when Iroha appears behind him, resting her juicy melons on Akitaru's back. Akitaru doesn't notice this until Iroha herself points this out. The sensation finally kicks in, leaving Akitaru totally blown away. The moment Iroha notices that Akitaru is already falling for her trap, she continues to pile on the misery. She hugs him tighter so she can feel the sensation of her body. Apparently, she is not wearing a covering under, which makes everything even more pleasing to Akitaru. Akitaru is totally confused about what to do to get out of the situation because she can't push Iroha off and risks her melons falling off in front of the students. Akitaru knows this is totally out of the question, since Iroha is his best friend's sister, and he can't do anything to make his best friend sad. In addition to that, he is supposed to be Mashiro's boyfriend, and can't risk being seen with a junior lady. Akitaru knows that his career is done if Mori finds out about this. Just then, Iroha teases him, telling him that she is willing to let him go if he surrenders. However, Akitaru decides to take the least expected decision. He grabs Iroha and holds her tightly on his back as he carries her through a route where no one would see them. Once he knows that they are safe, Akitaru forces an apology out of her before throwing her on the floor as punishment. On their way home, Akitaru then asks Iroha how he can make a woman who hates him like him. Iroha is very curious when she hears this, forcing her to ask if Akitaru now has someone he likes, but Akitaru denies this. Akitaru later explains his situation to the girl, and after hearing everything, Iroha assures him that she has a way of helping him make Mashiro fall for him. The next day, Akitaru follows Iroha's advice by becoming Mashiro's lapdog just to try and get her to fall for him. However, his appearance and approach disgust Mashiro, and she angrily grabs him by the leash on his neck, dragging him away to somewhere they can talk. Mashiro asks him what he is trying to achieve by acting stupid, and he mentions his goal. However, he confesses that he actually had the idea that it wouldn't work. This only pissed her off more because he had his doubts and still foolishly went on with the plan. The two are discussing their differences when the annoying Iroha shows up to reveal that she was the one who set everything up. It suddenly dawns on Mashiro that Iroha is the young lady they said Akitaru is hanging out with. Akitaru tries to clear the air, but Mashiro walks away in anger. That evening, they get to their apartment only to find out that Mashiro is now living beside them, too. Apparently, Akitaru, Sumair, and the siblings are all living on the same apartment line, and Mashiro has come to join them, without even knowing it. Mashiro ends up running into her room when she hears that Sumair is staying close to her, as if she hates the lady's guts. Even with the way Mashiro is behaving, Akitaru is hellbent on getting his way with Mashiro. Later on, Akitaru tells his colleagues about his plan to host a party to properly welcome Mashiro to the apartment. Some minutes before revealing his daring plan, Akitaru, Iroha, Sumair, and Ozuma are all having fun at his place. They are celebrating finishing up a certain project right on time before the deadline. Akitaru commends his friend for being such a genius, but Ozuma attributes everything to the support that he is getting from Akitaru. Ozuma then asks Akitaru if he is hearing from their other member, Makagai, but he says no. Apparently, Makagai is the only person on the team whom Akitaru has not met in person. Sumair soon drinks herself to the utmost brink, and she assumes that Akitaru and Ozuma are talking about her, but Akitaru clears the air. It was after this that he told them about his plan to host a party for Mashiro in a week's time. The next morning, Akitaru heads to Mashiro's door, and he starts spamming her doorbell until she is forced to open the door. Akitaru then asks her if she is willing to come to his house party, but the moment she hears this, she slams the door shut again. Akitaru tries using the same trick, but Mashiro is a step ahead of him by disabling the power in her room. Akitaru is persistent as ever, and instead of giving up, he starts sending the invitation letters via her mail. Akitaru takes it further by making sure he stays on her neck in school. Everywhere he sees her, he tries to talk to her, and this gives Mashiro a really hard time. Akitaru meets when other students are looking at them and tries to use the opportunity to talk to her, but her hatred for the dude surpasses her need to be embarrassed. Later on, Akitaru and Iroha go shopping, and Iroha plays her game of blackmailing Akitaru into doing things yet again. She finds a snack, and she pretends to be his girlfriend, just to get him to eat the snack from her hand. Because Akitaru is interested in the sausage, he has no choice but to beg Iroha for it. The conversation soon shifts to Mashiro, and Akitaru mentions that he is still having a hard time trying to get on her good side. Akitaru says Mashiro totally hates his guts, and she is even avoiding him. Iroha then tells Akitaru that he has not been able to get through to Mashiro because he is not trying enough, and in addition, he is a bit pushy about the way he does his thing. Iroha tells Akitaru that he is always trying to help people as if he knows what is good for everyone. She makes an example of when he invited her and her brother to join the alliance. However, Iroha doesn't deny the fact that Akitaru is a good judge of character. Just then, Iroha reaches for an item on the top shelf, and she almost falls off in an attempt to grab it. Just like she said, Akitaru is there to help her, and Iroha uses this as another mode of encouragement for him. She tells him to continue giving his best, and he will eventually get through to Mashiro. Akitaru gains wisdom in what Iroha says, and he thanks her for it, saying he is ready to give it his all. Meanwhile, Mashiro's room is filled with the invitation flyers, but she remains adamant that she is not going to the party that he is hosting. On D-Day, Akitaru has already put plans in place with his friends, as he is hellbent on making sure he gets Mashiro to his house party. After school, Akitaru finds Mashiro at the locker room, and she immediately assumes that he is there to invite her to the party, but he says no. However, this shows that her mind is drawn to the party. Akitaru then mentions that the only thing he wants from her is an opportunity to walk her back home. Akitaru believes that this is an easy request that she is not going to deny, but to his utmost shock, Mashiro makes a run for it. Akitaru cannot believe that Mashiro hates him so much that she doesn't even want to walk with him. However, Akitaru can't afford not to walk home with her because his entire plan is based on that. He runs after her and makes sure that he stays in close proximity to her. Mashiro soon gets frustrated, and she takes another route that leads to the riverside. But Akitaru suddenly shows up beside her, almost giving her a heart attack. Mashiro then mentions that she is not interested in joining Akitaru's clique because she doesn't know if she is going to fit in. Akitaru then gets serious with her, asking her who else she knows aside from him and his friends. He asks her if she has spoken to any other students aside from him since she got to the school, and the answer is obviously no. Akitaru remembers what Sumair told him about her past experience in school, and he screams at her, telling her that she can't continue living her life the way she is. Akitaru lets her know that she is free to cry for help because everything is obviously not okay with her. Akitaru's words get to her, and he notices this. He tries moving close to her, but she moves back without looking at where she is stepping. This causes her to fall off the ledge. and when Akitaru tries helping her, they both fall into the water. The water soaking her clothes makes her look more appealing, and it takes Akitaru a whole load of control to look away from her. Frustrated, she tries getting out of the water herself, and she almost falls back in, but Akitaru saves her. He holds her tightly until she is finally ready to leave the water. By the time she steps out of the water, she is totally calm and even laughs at Akitaru's joke for the first time. Mashiro finally confesses that she doesn't hate Akitaru, and she urges him not to hate her, too. Mashiro then reveals her fear of not getting along with Akitaru and his friends, which is why she is hesitant to join his group. Akitaru tries to make her feel better by telling her that he is also an ordinary dude who has nothing to boast of. However, Mashiro argues with him, saying her father already told her that he is the one who created the Fifth Alliance game. With this, Mashiro believes that Akitaru should be the most popular kid in school, but Akitaru clears the air, saying no one in his class knows that he invented the game. Akitaru claims that he kept it a secret because he doesn't want the attention to get into his head. Mashiro is blown away by Akitaru's mentality, and not long after this, the two walk back home together. Just as she is about to enter her room, she notices that her door is open, and Akitaru offers to escort her in just in case someone has broken in. The two slowly walk into the dark room, but suddenly, Mashiro is hit with a welcome celebration, ultimately shocking her. Akitaru tells her that it is her welcome party, but Mashiro is more worried about the fact that they entered her apartment without her consent. Akitaru then shocks her, saying they are actually inside his apartment, not hers. Mashiro is confused at this, since she is pretty sure that she walked to the end of the line where her apartment is. Akitaru then confesses, saying she is not actually at the end of the line because they put a holographic screen there to make it seem like she has reached her apartment. Mashiro is utterly blown away, and she is forced to ask them why they would go to such lengths for her. Akitaru assures her that she is going to understand everything once she joins them. Akitaru calms her down, telling her that she is free to consider everyone in the room her friend, and for once, Mashiro finally acts like herself. Later on, Iroha and Akitaru stand on the balcony of their apartment to take in fresh air. Iroha feels the moment, and she acts cool for the first time, thanking Akitaru for giving her the chance to be the voice-over artist for his game. It turns out that Akitaru met Azuma when they were in the middle academy, and Azuma was known as an odd guy because he was always spending time in the science lab. Some even assume that he is conducting inhumane experiments inside the lab. However, Akitaru was the only person who approached him, and he decided to take a deep dive into Azuma's talents. Sometime later, Akitaru runs into Azuma on the apartment floor, and while they are discussing, Iroha shows up, making it the first time that Akitaru will meet Iroha. She seemed like a shy girl who even thanked Akitaru for helping her brother out in school. Back then, she was a sweet girl with nothing irritating about her. In class, Akitaru expresses his shock that Azuma has a sister, and he didn't know. They are in the middle of their conversation when one of the notorious delinquents, Otoi, walks up to them in the most nonchalant way. She tells the two that she would like to see them behind the gym. The two have no choice but to follow her to hear what it is that she has to say. Getting to the back of the gym, she offers them candies even though they are against the school rules. She really doesn't care about the rules, and the two have no choice but to take the candies from her. Akitaru then asks Otoi why she called them behind. Otoi drops the bombshell, saying she would like to know the kind of person Iroha is. It turns out that Iroha approached her group with the intention of becoming a delinquent just like them. Otoi says she wants to know the kind of person Iroha is, since she heard from others that she is an honor student. Akitaru then asks her if she is planning on inviting Iroha to the club, and Otoi tells them that she is still thinking about it. However, she confesses that she would have no choice but to accept Iroha if she begs to be in the club. She then asks Azuma about his thoughts, but he finds it difficult to answer. Since they are indecisive, Otoi leaves the two to deliberate on what they just heard. Akitaru then asks Azuma why he couldn't give an answer to the question that Otoi asked. Azuma confesses that he doesn't know how his sister operates because they are not really close. In fact, they might go 2 months without talking to each other. Upon hearing this, Akitaru finally grasps the kind of situation that the family is in. Being the serial helper that he is, he cooks up a plan, and he asks Azuma to let him come to his house after school. After school, Akitaru escorts Azuma home, and he notices that their entire living room is empty. Azuma mentions that he doesn't use the living room for anything. The moment they step into Azuma's room, Akitaru is shocked to see just how scattered it is. There are gadgets everywhere, and Azuma urges him not to step on anything because he might just get angry. Akitaru retorts, urging Azuma to clean his room instead. Azuma defends himself, saying he already knows where he placed everything in his room, which makes it easier for him to navigate without stepping on anything. Akitaru is impressed by the inventions in his room, but Azuma downplays this, saying anyone can do it. Moments later, the two sit down to play games, and after receiving several episodes of whooping, Akitaru tells Azuma that he has to visit the restroom. The moment he steps out of the room, he reveals his real intention of coming to the house. It turns out that he is there to know the kind of person Iroha is. He stands by the door to eavesdrop on her conversation, and he gets so carried away by this that he fails to know when Iroha opens the door. However, before Iroha can scream, he grabs and pushes her into the room. He manages to calm her down, telling her that he is not a bad guy. The moment he lets Iroha go, she turns around and lands a dirty slap on his face. Akitaru tries to defend himself, but suddenly notices that Iroha has a call from the leader of the delinquents, Takabana. Iroha picks up her call and engages in a short conversation with Takabana before turning to Akitaru to ask her what he wants from her. Iroha tries to dissuade Akitaru from meddling in his business because he is nothing more than a friend to her brother. Deep down, Akitaru is eager to help because Azuma has been through a lot already in the academy, and it would be bad if his sister ends up in the delinquent group. Akitaru tries to get to know her more, but she makes sure to make things really difficult for him. Up next, Akitaru decides to track Takabana down, since he heard that she usually holds a music street performance. Even though the weather is very hot, Akitaru doesn't give up, and after a really hard time of looking, he finds Takabana. He approaches her and calls her by her name, which shocks her. Takabana assumes that Akitaru is a stalker for knowing her name, but Akitaru clears the air, saying he is there to talk about Iroha. Before they can get down to the real conversation, he passes out from exhaustion. He later holds the meeting in a cafe while Iroha is also present. Akitaru tells Takabana to consider giving up on her life to be a delinquent and just become a regular schoolgirl. Iroha defends Takabana, saying Akitaru is trying to steal her dream away from her. Apparently, Takabana likes making music, and Akitaru decides to ask Iroha if she wants the same thing, too. Iroha finds it hard to answer the question. Akitaru puts pressure on her, and Takabana finally cuts in, saying she can read Iroha like a book. It turns out that Iroha has an interest in making music, but she is a fan of Takabana's music. Iroha admits this, saying she admires Takabana because she is a confident person. Amid the conversation, Akitaru finally learns that Iroha doesn't have a hobby of her own because their mother is very strict, leaving Iroha a boring girl. When Akitaru hears this, it finally makes sense to him, and he promises Iroha that he is going to create an environment for her to thrive in. Akitaru gets off his seat and pays everyone's bill before leaving. He rushes home to tell Azuma the bright idea that he has, and this is the fact that he wants them to build a game. Azuma works on the hardware, while Akitaru draws the characters and also writes the story. In the end, Akitaru and Azuma created the game that blew up, all thanks to his thrill to help his friend's sister. Once Azuma and Akitaru have put the game together, they invite Takabana and Iroha to try it out. After playing a few games, Akitaru asks Takabana how she feels about the game, and instead of hyping it up, she trash talks the game, saying it is mid. She mentions that the music and art are lacking. However, she admits that she was hooked on the gameplay. This is when Akitaru comes in, saying the gameplay is the most important aspect of everything, and he cites examples of the games they enjoyed while growing up. He believes that their strength to bring the game to life is the most important thing. Suddenly, he drops the bombshell, asking the two if they will be interested in working on the game with them. This shocks them, and Takabana mentions that she can't betray Otoi. However, Akitaru assures her that he has gotten approval from Otoi before coming to her. Takabana is interested in making music for them, but Iroha surprisingly says she will have to pass up the offer. Iroha runs out of the room to avoid explaining herself, and Akitaru runs after her, but he loses her. Suddenly, he hears different voices coming from the corner of the building. It turns out that it is Iroha who is mimicking several voices at the same time, and this shocks him. He walks up to her, and she runs behind the bench in embarrassment. She claims that people are always creeped out when they hear her mimic other voices. Akitaru admits that he was initially freaked out, but then he got interested. Iroha finally decides to sit to hear what Akitaru has to say. Akitaru mentions how impressed he is because he genuinely thought there were 3 people having a conversation, until he realized that it was only Iroha. Akitaru admits that Iroha's talent has made him a fan, and this immediately lights up her mood. Iroha downplays what she did, saying it is nothing too serious because it is something she does out of boredom. She reveals how she started mimicking anime characters when she was younger. However, when her mom saw her do this, she lost it and ordered her not to again. To make sure she adheres to this, she stripped away all the fun things that she usually does. This was why she was so hooked on following whatever her mother tells her, because she is already used to it. Iroha then asks him if he does drama or anything like that, but he says no. Because his mom is a makeup artist for actresses, he once went to a location with her, and he got to see how things were done. With what he has seen, he assures Iroha that her acting ability is top-notch, leaving the girl red-faced again. However, Akitaru knows that Iroha can't bring herself to betray her mom, which is why she was looking for someone to force the choice. Akitaru finally understands why she accepted the offer to join the delinquents, so that they can influence her decision. With this in mind, Akitaru tells Iroha that he is willing to coerce her into making the said decision. Hearing Akitaru's determination to help her out and be her white knight leaves her blushing really hard. Since she enjoys acting so much, Akitaru gives her the offer to work on the game with him. He assures her that they are going to put precautions in place to make sure that her mother doesn't find out. Iroha is blown away, and she asks him why he is helping her out. He replies that he is doing this because she is his friend's sister and nothing more. Iroha finally feels like she has found someone she can be comfortable with, and she tells Akitaru that she is looking forward to working with him. Days later, Iroha arrives at his door, and she wastes no time, taunting Akitaru about the fact that he is interested in her body. Akitaru is forced to tell her that he will leave the door open if that will keep her mind at rest. She enters the room, and Akitaru offers her a drink, but she still uses this opportunity to taunt him, saying he might be looking for a way to slip something into her drink. Just then, she notices the several books on the bed, and Akitaru tells her that he bought everything for her to practice. He also tells her that the books will remain at his place so her mother doesn't find out. Iroha believes that this is just an excuse to force her to come to his house every day. After this, the two started working together, and Akitaru even made her go on physical strength exercises to help her voice. Day after day, Akitaru made her mimic anime dub on mute to help her build her confidence and fluency. In no time, the dormant acting talent in her starts to bloom. Shortly afterward, Otoi invites them to her just-completed studio, which is set up inside a storehouse. She reveals that she convinced her grandparents to give her part of her inheritance very early. Akitaru is blown away by this, as he wasn't expecting her to go that far. Otoi is completely blown away when she learns that Iroha will be the one voicing all the characters. She initially had her doubts, but Iroha cleared it up after showing her talent. With this, Iroha's voice acting began, but it remained a secret between him, Iroha, and Otoi. Later on, Iroha thanks Akitaru for the opportunity he gave her because without him, her talent would have been wasted away. She also mentions that she talked with her brother for the first time. She reveals that her brother is such a boring dude, who only has fun whenever Akitaru is around, furthermore pointing out just why Akitaru is important. Akitaru then gifts her brand new headphones, and since she won't be able to use them at her house, he gives her a key to his apartment, telling her that she is free to use his apartment anytime she wants. Now in the present, Iroha mentions that she has been maintaining the same vibe ever since then. Akitaru praises her for having such incredible talent. He asks her about the situation at her place, and she tells him that things haven't changed, which is why she is still coming around all the time. He asks about Takebana, and she tells him that Takebana has found herself working for a professional who recognized her talent, which led her to the United States. In the end, Iroha tells Akitaru that they all owe her, and all he needs to do is accept their gratitude. She moves over to Akitaru, and she hugs him from behind, and Akitaru finally asks her to be his friend, instead of his friend's sister. Later on, Iroha is in the shower thinking about Akitaru's invitation for a hangout with the rest of the team. She is pretty sure that no one else aside from Mishiro will be present, and this is because her female guts are screaming on the top of their lungs, telling her that Mishiro actually likes Akitaru. To prevent Mishiro from stealing Akitaru from her, she decides that she needs to honor the invitation and keep an eye on Akitaru. Soon afterward, Akitaru shows up at the place where they are to meet, and just as suspected, Mishiro and Iroha are the only ones present for the hangout. Iroha wastes no time grabbing Akitaru's arm to make sure he feels the softness of her melons. Mishiro refuses to be left out, and she grabs Akitaru's other arm, too. She shamelessly tells Akitaru that as long as Iroha gets to hold him, she is free to do the same. Realizing that he has no choice, Akitaru suggests that they go see a movie first. Upon getting there, an argument ensues between the two ladies on which movie they are supposed to see. Mishiro wants them to see a sad movie, while Iroha is all about the action-type movie. While they are both arguing, Mishiro learns that Iroha is always at Akitaru's room, watching movies, and she almost loses her senses. Akitaru soon realizes that the two are going to gang up on him and just call him all trash names because he lacks the wisdom of how a girl's heart works. To prevent this, Akitaru suggests that they take a diplomatic approach toward the issue. They end up playing rock, paper, scissors, and Iroha comes out the winner, so they have no choice but to see an action movie. After they are done watching, they sit down to have a drink and relax. Iroha soon says she needs to step away for a moment, and she suggests that Mishiro follow her, but she refuses. After she is gone, Mishiro and Akitaru are trying to catch up when two girls from Mishiro's former school show up. The two waste no time showing just how trashy they are as they mock Mishiro, telling her that she finally has a dumb boyfriend. Mishiro's traumatic past leaves her mute, and Akitaru finally speaks up, telling the girls to shut their mouths. He gets on his feet and, with a commanding voice, he urges them to get lost because their voices sound annoying like that of mosquitoes. The girls try to act tough, saying they have a strong dude backing them, but Akitaru lets them know that the same can be said of his camp, too. Akitaru later manages to scare them away because of how confident he speaks. After the girls leave, Akitaru tries to comfort Mishiro, but she ends up running off. Iroha shows up just in time to tell Akitaru that they need to go after Mishiro. Akitaru decides to check upstairs while Iroha goes downstairs. After searching for a while, Akitaru starts racking his brain to think of the likely places that Mishiro could have disappeared to. Suddenly, he spots the poster of the sad movie, and it dawns on him that she must have gone to see the movie. Just as he suspected, he finds Mishiro inside the theater, staring at the screen. Mishiro demands to know why Akitaru came into the theater, and he says he is there to watch the movie, but Mishiro begs to differ, calling him a stalker instead. She then apologizes for always insulting him, but he assures her that he is fine with it, as long as it makes her feel better. Mishiro then tells Akitaru what led to her bullying. Apparently, she started writing a novel to escape reality, since she doesn't belong anywhere. Out of nowhere, the girls found the novel, and they showed it to everyone, which then kick-started her miserable days. Just then, Akitaru tells her that he knows a professional novelist just like her, who writes novels to escape reality. In fact, he is a big fan, and when he mentions their name, Mishiro appears to be familiar with the novelist, too. Akitaru tells Mishiro how he was engrossed with the book because of how it shatters reality. By talking about the book, the two end up having a good conversation, and Akitaru even shatters whatever guard she is mounting by patting her head. Akitaru manages to get her out of her shell by assuring her that she can always follow his lead. Not long after this, Akitaru texts Iroha to let her know that he has found Mishiro. Iroha replies that she is in the resting areas. Akitaru and Mishiro get there to find Iroha talking to the two bullies. Mishiro quickly hides behind Akitaru, believing that Iroha is one of them, but Akitaru urges her to watch and see for herself. Iroha is busy laughing with the two until she starts hurling insults at them, telling them how miserable they are for picking on Mishiro. The two try to fight back, but Iroha's voice acting comes into play. She changes her voice into a deep, scary voice to send a cold chill down their spine. Her voice is so scary that the two fall on their knees, but Iroha is not done with them just yet. Iroha threatens to rearrange their ugly faces by punching them. Iroha is about to punch one of them when Akitaru shows up to stop her. Akitaru then reminds the two of how he told them that he has some scary people backing his group, too. With Iroha's display sending fear down their throats, Akitaru warns them, telling them that he never wants to see them around Mashiro again, and the two politely accept this. After the two run off, Iroha thanks Akitaru for showing up just in time before her fake mask wears off. Mashiro then walks up to Iroha to thank her for helping out, and the two end up becoming friends instead of rivals. Later on, Iroha meets with his uncle, who commends him for doing a good job with Mashiro so far. In a surprising turn of events, his uncle lets him know that he is aware that Iroha is the voice actor for his group, but he assures him that he is going to keep it a secret, since secrecy makes everything better. However, he demands to know if Iroha is his girlfriend, and Akitaru assures him that he has nothing romantic going on with her. Some nights later, Mashiro can no longer contain her feelings and emotions, and she ends up sending a risky text to Akitaru. Akitaru and Iroha are arguing in his room as usual when the text comes in. Akitaru doesn't think it's a big deal, and he opens the text with Iroha spying on him. However, the text ends up being a big deal, since it contains Mashiro's confession of how much she loves Akitaru. Soon afterward, Akitaru finds Mashiro in his room, with breakfast in her hand. This shocks Akitaru, who assumes Mashiro hit her head, which is why she is acting really weird, but Mashiro assures him that she is fine. Akitaru is still trying to understand what is happening when Mashiro pushes him to the bed with the intention of doing naughty things to him. The two lock lips, and he is enjoying every bit of it until he wakes up to see Iroha sticking a candy down his throat and making fun of how he sucks. Akitaru screams at her, asking her why she is sticking a candy in his mouth. In her defense, she claims she is trying to cool him down, since he was busy moaning in his sleep. Iroha continues to make life harder for him, as she tries to figure out what turns him on. The two are arguing until Akitaru realizes that it is already 8 in the morning. He freezes up immediately he sees, and he starts praying that it should be a holiday or something. Being in the business of making his life hard, Iroha lets him know that it is a weekday. Akitaru quickly gets off his feet to start preparing for school. However, he can't get Mashiro's confession via text out of his head. He wonders if it is really true that Mashiro loves him, or if she is just messing around. Since he is the man in the equation, he decides to talk to Mashiro and let her know how he feels. Moments later, Akitaru finishes dressing up, and he starts running to school. While waiting at a pedestrian stop, Iroha urges him to calm down because there is no one who is going to scold him, since it's his first time running late. Akitaru then reveals that he is trying everything to avoid getting scolded by Sumair, who is obviously the queen of latecomers. The conversation between the two soon escalates into Iroha grabbing Akitaru by the arm and telling him to test out his confidence on her, so he won't mess up when talking to Mashiro. Not ready to fall for her usual schemes, Akitaru thinks she is messing around, and he smacks her on the head while calling her a moron. Iroha was expecting a nice reaction, like blushing from him, but he tells her that he needs to do more, like taking his virginity in sleep. Akitaru runs off, leaving her on the sidewalk, but Iroha makes it her mission to seduce Akitaru. After running like a horse, Akitaru finally makes it to class, totally exhausted. He turns around to greet Mashiro, but her facial expression almost sends him to the ground. Akitaru tries talking to her about the message she sent, but Mashiro stares at him like he is a pest before telling him that his voice annoys her. This confuses Akitaru because he can't believe that Mashiro is the same person who sent him the text. Akitaru then picks up his phone to text her, asking her why she is ignoring him. Mashiro replies warmly, saying she is embarrassed. However, her expressions whenever he turns to look at her say a completely different thing. Mashiro sends repeated texts, telling Akitaru about the gorgeous dress that she bought just for him to see. This only creates a sense of confusion in Akitaru's head because he doesn't know exactly what Mashiro wants. Sumair soon enters the class in her usual strict manner, talking about why the students need to be punctual. Akitaru cannot believe that a chronic latecomer like her, who never meets her deadlines, is talking about punctuality. After Sumair's class is over, Azuma asks Akitaru if he is fine because he came later than usual. Akitaru assures the dude that he is good because he only overslept a little. Azuma then urges him not to push himself too hard, and Akitaru says the same to him. The conversation between the two then switches to the development and progress of the game. Apparently, the team's writer is having issues with the way they are directing their lines. The two became completely engrossed in this that they didn't know that Mashiro is staring at them. By the time Akitaru notices this, Mashiro is staring at him like the devil reincarnate. Akitaru is confused, but unknown to him, Mashiro is pissed because she is jealous of how Akitaru and Ozuma are talking to each other passionately. Akitaru wonders what is happening all of a sudden, and why there are so many irregularities at once. Later on, Iroha is reminiscing about the bold text that Mashiro sent to Akitaru when Mashiro shows up at the door to see her. Iroha steps out to talk to her, and she thanks her for taking the time out to speak with her. Mashiro takes Iroha to a more private space where they can talk, and she asks her about Akitaru's lateness to school that day. Iroha tries to sweep this under the rug until Mashiro reveals the exact number of minutes that Akitaru ran late. Iroha is stunned when she hears this, and she realizes that Mashiro is way scarier than she thinks. Mashiro asks her if Akitaru is sick or anything, and Iroha suggests she talk to him personally. However, Mashiro reveals that she is too shy to talk to him, which is why she came to Iroha. Iroha can sense the sincerity in Mashiro, and since she doesn't hate her, she decides to tell her the truth. She lets her know that there is nothing wrong because Akitaru only overslept, and hearing this comes as a relief to Mashiro. Before leaving, Mashiro asks Iroha if she can always come to her for advice, and Iroha reluctantly says yes. Later on, Iroha tracks Akitaru down to find him where he is having his lunch. Realizing that Mashiro is going to get ahead of her if she doesn't act fast, Iroha tries to be nice to Akitaru, but he shuts her off. Just then, Akitaru asks Iroha what he can do concerning Mashiro's confession, because this is the first time he will experience such. The moment he says this, Iroha angrily drops her drink, and she asks Akitaru if he is truly worried about Mashiro's confession. Akitaru confirms this, saying it is the first time a girl has confessed to him, but this only makes Iroha even angrier. Akitaru can't understand why she is mad, and she even insults him before leaving. Akitaru is surprised because this is the first time Iroha has genuinely insulted him. As if things are not bad enough already, Akitaru gets summoned to Sumayor's office. He gets there to find out that Sumayor finished her task 2 days before the deadline, which has never happened before. This further adds to Akitaru's headache of the irregularities happening all at once. He manages to leave the office, but his head almost explodes because he doesn't have the experience to deal with everything happening to him. After his crash out at school, Akitaru is at home checking his messages while still trying to figure out how to deal with so many changes. He walks into the living room to find Iroha wearing an apron and acting unusually nice, which annoys him as he wonders what she is planning. Iroha assures him that she is not plotting anything and simply wants to cook for him. A moment later, she serves the meal and even offers to feed him, which Akitaru refuses at first, but Iroha keeps insisting. After some back and forth, Akitaru finally gives in, only to regret it when Iroha gently blows on a spoonful of food and tells him to open his mouth, treating him like a freaking baby. Although he finds the behavior disgusting, Akitaru lets her feed him, but soon forgets himself after tasting the delicious meal. After finishing the porridge, Akitaru thanks Iroha, but he feels awkward when she wipes his mouth. She asks if he needs anything else, and when he says no, she quietly leaves. He waits for her usual bubbly return, but she never shows up. His vibrating phone snaps him out of it, and he asks why she was acting strange. Iroha says she is trying to be his ideal type. Akitaru realizes she is doing the opposite of Mashiro's strategy, because, in reality, Mashiro is harsh but sweet in her texts, so Iroha is trying to be sweet in reality and goofy in her texts. This realization plunges Akitaru into more confusion as he can't understand why everyone is acting crazy. Akitaru gets a call from Ozuma, who jokes about monitoring his heart rate, though Akitaru is not convinced. Ozuma says Iroha came home sulking and locked herself in her room, which is why he called. Akitaru almost mentions the confession message, but stops to protect Mashiro's privacy. Ozuma understands and shifts to business, asking about Makagai's terrible script. Akitaru plans to reject it, and Ozuma agrees to back him up. After the call, Akitaru feels ready to face everything, thanks to Iroha's porridge. The following day at school, Akitaru's body has healed, and his brain is back to its maximum capacity. He basks mentally in the glory of finishing all his backed-up tasks and checks in on Iroha, who is supposed to have an afternoon recording session with him. However, she doesn't plan to make things easy and asks him to get on his knees and beg her. After handling Iroha, Akitaru turns around to see Mashiro oozing her usual psycho aura while typing furiously on her phone. He wants to ignore her since he is only dealing with 5th floor alliance issues, but he worries about leaving her confession unanswered. However, he wonders how to do that when she wouldn't talk to him without acting like he is sewer trash. Moments later, as he steps out of the classroom, Sumire stops him, asking about his health and telling him to follow her. Akitaru pauses, asking why, and she reminds him of his promise earlier when she asked him to do her a favor. Not knowing what to expect, he warns her not to pull any crap, but Sumire presses into his face and assures him that it is a matter of life and death, which scares him a little. As soon as they reach the counseling room, Sumire drops to the floor and begs Akitaru to save her drama club because it will be disbanded if they fail the upcoming competition. Akitaru does not care about the club and tells her to let it go so she can spend more time watching her questionable anime. Sumire refuses because her younger sister Midori is the club president. She gushes about how adorable Midori is until Akitaru shuts her up. She keeps talking anyway, even slipping in a few compliments about herself, and when he finally stops her again, she desperately begs him to help because she will be reassigned as the girls' tennis coach if the club closes, a job she hates. Akitaru is stunned to learn she bagged the tennis coach title by bragging about her toned body and 9-packs to the principal. Seeing that Akitaru refuses to help her, she decides to use his own tactics and tells him that she can't meet any deadline if she coaches the tennis team. She pleads with him to just attend one practice session, and Akitaru reluctantly agrees, which makes Sumire ecstatic. A few moments later, they head to an alleged haunted classroom to watch the drama club members. After seeing them, Akitaru remembers that Midori is the top student in their level and talks about her achievements, which makes Sumire proud. However, Akitaru starts roasting her, saying she might need to get a DNA test because she is too dumb to be blood related to a genius. They then continue spying, and Akitaru tells Sumire that they don't need to worry about the club with such a capable president. However, he quickly takes it back during the actual showcase as things suddenly turn chaotic like dopers on a shroom high. After the show, Akitaru tells Sumire to prepare to be disbanded WTH, such an abysmally horrible act. Midori proudly gives their show an 80, but Akitaru bursts in and roasts the entire performance so hard that Midori nearly cries. She tries to talk back, but immediately shrinks when she sees Sumire standing at the door, staring at her. Sumire walks in confidently and begins praising herself as the club girls swoon. She then introduces Akitaru as a super producer, though the girls remain wary after his earlier outburst. Midori gets fired up and calls him useless, claiming he knows nothing about theater. Sumire steps in to calm her, slipping in a few insults disguised as compliments for Akitaru. Midori still doubts him and demands proof, and Sumire shockingly says Akitaru has produced many Hollywood hits. Midori believes it instantly, making Akitaru realize she is brilliant academically but clueless otherwise. Once Akitaru starts giving pointers, the girls begin praising him. But remembering his criticism, Midori angrily demands to know his relationship with Sumire and even suggests he might have flirted with her for favors. Akitaru overcommits to the producer act and tells her to apologize to Hollywood, insisting he sees Sumire as a stone. Midori becomes offended and starts hyping her sister's body. Tired of the chaos, Akitaru leaves. Sumire joins him outside, pleading with him to help them. But Akitaru refuses, saying he will only offer pointers but will never be their producer. He says he knows a thing or two about theater and can even ask Iroha to coach the girls, but decides not to because her profession as a voice actor is still a guarded secret. Anyways, Akitaru tells Sumire the deal is off because he has too much to deal with and has no time to coach the drama club. Sumire tries to beg him, but he angrily shoves her brain and tells her to figure it out herself while making sure not to miss her deadlines. He then walks out on her while thinking about Iroha's acting skills, but says it is a pity she doesn't want to be in the spotlight. Moments later, Iroha is in the locker room preparing to leave for her recording session. Checking a message from Akitaru, she calls him an idiot for acting aloof toward her feelings. She doesn't feel like seeing him, but she decides to go anyway because she loves her job. As she slips into her comfy shoes, Iroha wonders why Akitaru never takes her seriously, though she knows her constant teasing doesn't help. She's also jealous of Mashiro because Akitaru always pays attention to her. Yet he only treats Iroha seriously when it's about work. Worried about the new green tea personality jealousy has given her, she overthinks until her mind overloads. Assuming no one can hear her, she lets out a scream, only for Mashiro to suddenly appear behind her, asking if she's okay. Trying to brush off the awkward moment, Iroha asks why Mashiro is still at school. Mashiro shows her a set of colorful books, explaining that she stopped by the library after her last class. Iroha is surprised, as she hadn't expected her to be into romantic novels. Mashiro says she wants to try something different, then panics, afraid Iroha will see through her. Iroha immediately notices she's hiding something. Mashiro asks if they should walk home together, but Iroha quickly declines, saying she has a part-time job and avoiding any mention of her gig with Akitaru. She mischievously adds that her job involves using her mouth, making Mashiro misunderstand. Laughing at her reaction, Iroha teases her until Mashiro turns red. After they part ways, Iroha watches her leave, feeling her jealousy spike again. On her way to the studio, she wonders how to act now that things feel awkward between her and Akitaru. Meanwhile, Akitaru is having his own breakdown, and Iroha only makes it worse when she arrives and starts acting cute again. As they walk to the studio, her unusual quietness bothers him, and he tells her to go back to normal. She responds with a cute face, almost making him gag. Irritated, he asks how long she plans to keep this up, but Iroha pretends not to know what he's talking about. After a short back and forth, Akitaru nearly blows up, yet Iroha still refuses to drop the act, giving him an even bigger headache. Soon, they reach the studio, where Otoi tells Akitaru to stop forcing his schedule on her. Together, Akitaru and Iroha apologize for taking up her time and offer her lollipops as payment. Otoi immediately agrees. As a bonus, Akitaru gives her pastries from a famous shop. Otoi only accepts luxury pastries as payment, since she normally does recordings just for fun. Accepting real jobs would require responsibility, something she avoids entirely. When Akitaru first tried to recruit her, she refused until he tempted her with premium pastries. Even now, she still turns him down whenever the pastry isn't to her taste. Thankfully, she likes today's own, and Iroha heads into the booth to begin recording. Otoi scolds Akitaru for not giving Iroha the scripts ahead of time, and he hurriedly explains that she can't take work home because of her strict mother. Still, he insists Iroha is so outstanding she only needs 5 minutes to read the script. Today, she has to record 5 different characters, including a male role. Akitaru watches proudly, certain she'll breeze through it. The first role is a male delinquent, but the moment Otoi signals her to start, Iroha shocks them both by sounding like a green tea bitch. Otoi stops the recording and demands to know why she sounds so refined. Iroha, confused, wonders what she did wrong. One by one, she attempts all 5 characters, and every voice sounds the same. Otoi grows frustrated, while Akitaru becomes irritated. Iroha is oblivious as she voices each character with enthusiasm. Otoi, fed up, asks Akitaru why Iroha sounds so off. Speechless and irritated, he quickly apologizes to Otoi, who's already done with the bull rap. She then asks Iroha how she thinks she did, and Iroha cheerfully says she did well. Akitaru scolds her harshly, but Otoi shoves a sweet in his mouth just in time to stop him from saying something worse. Otoi notices Iroha's changed expression and announces they are done for the day. Iroha sadly rushes out, ignoring them. After she leaves, Akitaru apologizes and thanks Otoi for stopping him in time. She asks what happened, and Akitaru recounts all the new and confusing experiences he has been facing. Otoi bluntly says she knows nothing about love and warns him not to let any love triangle interfere with Iroha's talent. She explains that although she has a sharp ear for music, she lacks the drive to be a true artist, which is why she enjoys supporting those like Iroha. Otoi praises Iroha's skill and dedication, saying it is why she decided to devote her remaining high school time to her. After warning Akitaru again, she teases him about his feelings for Mahiro. He denies any special feelings, but Otoi insists he would not have been so affected by her confession otherwise. Seeing his confusion, Otoi presses his face to her chest, telling him to listen to her heartbeat. She explains that they are both clueless about romance, but even she, normally unfeeling, can be moved in that position. She pushes him away, saying he is avoiding his feelings because he thinks they are pointless. Akitaru finally realizes Mishiro's love letter affected all three of them, and he had been a jerk for mishandling things between himself, Iroha, and Mishiro. He thanks Otoi for helping him understand, apologizes for disrupting the recording, and she reminds him not to forget next time's payment. Once outside, he immediately arranges to meet Mishiro for dinner. That night, he takes her to a very cozy romantic restaurant. Akitaru laughs at her nervous expression, making Mishiro pissed. Mishiro wonders if he can afford to eat at such an expensive place, offering to make her dad pay for them. Akitaru assures her that he can foot the bill. Besides, the thought of her father lecturing him scares him a bit. He explains that he has gained some money from his business with the Fifth Floor Alliance. Akitaru tells her to forget everything else and just focus on dinner. After tasting their delicious grape juice, Mishiro looks around, noticing all the lovely couples. Akitaru wonders if she doesn't like such places. Mishiro explains that she is super happy because this is the first time she is seeing couples without feeling hatred toward them. Apparently, she used to because most couples shove their lovey-dovey attitude in her face, making it seem like she doesn't deserve to be loved. However, the ones in the restaurants look so happy and are only focused on each other. After dinner, they step to the balcony to enjoy the sight. Mishiro was hesitant to come here at first because she didn't want their romantic dinner to end. Akitaru wants to give her a response to her confession, but Mishiro stops him, saying she is not ready to hear it. He insists, but she refuses, telling him that she already knows he wants to turn her down. Basically, the moment she received his invitation, Mishiro knew he planned to refuse her. Akitaru tries to talk, but she stops him, explaining that he is a nice guy, which is why he brought her here to make good memories. However, she doesn't plan to give up. She also feels that he must have been moved by Iroha's advances. Mishiro refuses to be sad and excitedly tells him she will wait for him no matter how long it takes. Akitaru tries to use the excuse of being busy with work, but Mishiro assures him that she will be near him for as long as he stays with the Fifth Floor Alliance. While leaving, she informs him that from tomorrow, she will be driving him nuts with love. As soon as Mishiro leaves, Akitaru picks up his phone, getting ready to face Iroha next. Later that night, when Akitaru goes to see Iroha, Ozuma welcomes him inside with a cheerful grin. Akitaru wonders why Ozuma is letting a guy visit his sister so late, but Ozuma casually explains that their mother will not be home. Once Ozuma disappears, Akitaru calls out to Iroha, trying to apologize, but she refuses to open the door. She insists that she should be the one apologizing for messing up the recording session. No matter how many times Akitaru begs her to open up, Iroha keeps shutting him down, saying she does not want to see him. Desperate, Akitaru threatens to break down the door. Iroha does not believe he would go that far, but to her shock, he actually smashes it open. After barging in, he drops money on the floor to cover the repair cost. He falls to his knees, head bowed as he earnestly begs her to forgive him. While she quietly stashes the repair money, Akitaru confesses that he met with Mishiro earlier and rejected her confession. Iroha reacts the way she always does, acting unimpressed and teasing him for blowing his supposed chance to lose his virginity. Akitaru ignores the teasing and apologizes for letting the Mishiro situation get to his head. He tells Iroha he has no interest in romance. In his mind, her anger comes from the fact that he was thinking about romance when he should have been focusing on the Fifth Alliance business. After listening to his hopeless excuse, Iroha manages a small laugh, and to keep herself from revealing too much, she agrees with his explanation. After hesitating a moment, she finally admits she was jealous of how he treated Mishiro. She explains that Akitaru always treats everyone in the Fifth Floor Alliance with professional seriousness, like a business relationship. From the very beginning, he made it clear that he only cared about the fastest path to making the alliance successful. Hearing her perspective makes Akitaru realize that his obsession with efficiency has gradually hurt the people around him. The only person he ever acted close to was Azuma. So when Iroha saw him growing closer to Mishiro, even though Mishiro was not part of the alliance, she felt jealous. She admits that his strange obsession with Mishiro's confession bothered her, too, especially because it had nothing to do with his work. Akitaru weakly attempts to justify himself by insisting that his connection with Mishiro somehow ties into the success of the alliance, but Iroha isn't buying his silly excuse. She tells him that, with how dramatic his reaction was, there has to be more to it. Seeing how embarrassed he is by her blunt remark, she quickly apologizes. After a brief pause, she suddenly blurts out, complaining that she really was jealous of how he treated Mishiro. She confesses that her jealousy made her behave like an idiot all week and caused her to mess up the recording. She thought Akitaru would treat her differently if she acted out. After shamelessly spilling everything to him, she apologizes once more. Her sudden confession makes Akitaru confused as he tries to ask whether she was romantically jealous. He waits for her answer, but instead of replying, Iroha bursts out laughing. She whips out her phone and plays back a recording of his reaction, revealing she was joking. Akitaru is stunned and furious that he fell for her trick again. While he fumes, she keeps teasing him. He demands she delete the recording, but she flatly refuses. Iroha explains that jealousy is not always romantic, but people also get jealous when their friends get close to other people, and that is the kind she felt. No matter how much he threatens her, she keeps replaying the audio while laughing at him. Once she is done tormenting him, Akitaru finally tells her that he needs a favor from her. Later that night, after returning home, Akitaru still cannot believe he let Iroha fool him again. Even so, he feels relieved that she did not confess to him like Mishiro did, because he could not handle another emotional disaster. Still, he cannot help wondering if she really was joking, or if there were pieces of truth hidden beneath her usual playfulness. The next day, Akitaru brings Otoi and Ozuma with him to help salvage the drama club. Although they call him a busybody, both of them find the situation interesting enough to give it their all. As soon as they open the clubroom door, Midori lunges at Akitaru, but he manages to stop her. She refuses to accept his presence because she believes he is involved in something shady with Sumair. Sumair sits quietly in a corner, watching them argue. She sends Akitaru a text apologizing for failing to convince Midori. Akitaru tries to explain that nothing is going on between him and Sumair, but Midori refuses to believe him. He tells her that he only wants to help after seeing how devoted the girls were during practice. Akitaru adds that their dedication means nothing if they have no direction. After listening to Akitaru's motivational speech, Midori and the other girls begin to falter. Akitaru promises to help them win the competition and offers his hand to Midori, but she still hesitates. When his plan fails, Akitaru turns to his wild card and signals Ozuma. Ozuma steps forward and casually hints that he and Akitaru are romantically involved, leaving everyone stunned. Even Sumair lets out a beastly scream due to her obsession with BL, and Midori spins around trying to figure out where the noise came from. Sumair makes up a ridiculous excuse while awkwardly picking her nose. Out of everyone in the room, Akitaru is the only one who does not buy her act. As previously arranged, Ozuma begins weaving a convincing story about his supposed romance with Akitaru, and Midori finally buys it. With her face red and full of stammers, Midori eventually agrees to work with Akitaru. After the handshake, Akitaru introduces Ozuma as their programmer and Otoi as their sound engineer. Moments later, he pulls out a board and begins his presentation. He immediately trashes all their previous ideas, calling them hopeless. He plans to give them Makagai's rejected script. Although it was not good enough for the Fifth Floor Alliance, it is still better than their chaotic nonsense. Akitaru assigns Otoi and Ozuma to work on stage settings and sound, but he decides not to mention Sumair's secret side job. The girls are impressed after hearing his plan, though Midori still voices her objections about suddenly switching scripts. Akitaru tells her to actually read it before complaining. After reading the script, which Akitaru already tweaked a bit, the girls begin sobbing uncontrollably. Even Midori praises it and begs Akitaru to let them use it. They start worrying about the stage props and overall costs, but Ozuma assures them he can handle everything in 3 days. Akitaru tells the girls to take care of the small props while he manages the larger ones. Otoi gets to work immediately, preparing the sound elements. With preparations underway, Midori asks Akitaru what he plans to do about their terrible acting. Akitaru tells her he has already arranged a place for the actors to train. Shortly after, he leads them to a dark room where Iroha, wearing a disguise, introduces herself as their acting instructor. Midori finds the situation suspicious, but Akitaru insists she is good and that he cannot explain why she must stay anonymous. Midori hands Iroha the script and asks her to prove herself. Iroha laughs confidently, and Akitaru watches her with pride because he knows she will not fail. Midori is caught off guard when Iroha insists on performing an entire scene rather than just one part. Iroha smirks and tells her to watch closely and learn from a master. Thanks for watching till the end, and don't forget to watch out for future updates.